of America, third floor up by Nordstrom's, and soon it'll be in downtown St. Paul. Check it out. Watches, repairs, all kinds of stuff. You know what the deal is.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
Where'd you get those sneakers? Did you get that at Twill?
No, these are like just some really cheap slip-ons just for walking the dog.
Oh, they're cool.
They are?
Yeah, I like
$20.
Where?
Yeah, these are cheapies. Actually, that is probably the next thing I'm going to buy at Twill is some nice, like, black, dressy type shoes that I can actually wear with nice clothes. I'm missing that. So I'm going to get that next. Because they have really good shoes there, too, as well. Let's do a few Twitter questions since I've run out of all hockey questions at this point.
Yeah, there's not much to talk about these days. These are the dog days.
So we'll talk more about... I actually have something I want to ask you about a little bit. From John Gallagher, I've heard the Wild has some cap space for free agency this year. Who are some realistic options we can go after?
Well, I mean, all those guys, they have a lot of cap space. But again, there's, is Anders Lee going to sign here when you got Parisi and Zucker and Fiala and Donato and Greenway and Cunnin? It's like, where's he going to play? And then even if they get him, where are the others going to play? I mean, this is kind of like, I don't want to go on a rant here, but it's like, they have nothing... What is the plan of what is Paul Fenn's plan? Like, I just don't get it. And I get that he doesn't want to spell it out, but part of me wonders if he knows. Like, it just, what he's done, none of this, you can't connect any dots. It just doesn't make sense. And then when you're like, all right, well, then maybe they go after a top center, then he goes and re-signs Stahl. So it's like, I can't give you realistic options because it is so hard to see what the plan is right now. Again, I know I'm ranting, but it's like, look, we all expect Zucker to be traded, but you got Parisi, Zucker, Greenway. You have Donato and Fiala, who right now have to play right wing, and Cunnin. And your centers are now 35 and 36 in Koivu and Stahl, one coming off a major injury, and Eriksson Ek. And so, like, we could all say they're going after Anders Lee. They're going after Zuccarello. They might go after Brett Connolly. They might go after Jordan Everly. How? Where? Why? What? How are they fitting all this? I don't see it right now. So there.
So there. New tagline for the show. So there.
I mean, it's just that's the truth. I mean, I know everybody's like, oh, all you do is rip on this. When I think the truest thing that he said his end of year franchise is that he was shooting from the hip. We're like, he basically said we're building on the fly. I think he said his term was like shooting from the hip. I think that's the way he said it. It almost seems that way. I mean, and a perfect example is just the Boteto move. I mean, it kind of, to me, symbolized everything. You don't get Boteto right after getting Hunt. And so it's just, and then, again, he trades Niederreiter, Coyle, and Granlund. And it's like, again, you add left shot, left wings that are now going to have to play right wing. And it just... they lose a right number one pair, right shot, right D, never once replace it. They lose their number 2 center, never once replace it. But they added all this other stuff around that have repercussions for the lineup down the road too. And then they are, again, bragging that they have, not bragging if it's the wrong word, but they're kind of constantly reminding us they have all this cap space. Well, where and why and how? There's nowhere. You can't sign anybody right now until you make trades because where are these guys playing? And how are you going to get Anders Lee to ever sign here when he looks at the depth chart the way I mean, this is why I keep on saying it's like, it would not shock me if they strike out this summer. And if they do, I can't wait to hear what the reasons were, So
the interesting thing is, Michael, that I've been doing this for a long freaking time. And what you usually run into as a reporter is people telling you, well, we have a plan. We have a plan. We have a plan. And if that plan fails, well, we have another plan. And it's like most managers, and I mean managers in the grand sense, general managers, coaches, GM, CEOs, whatever. Everybody, even if they don't have a plan, they want you to believe they have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of gives them some protection. Well, we still have a plan for this eventuality. Fenton kind of admits he doesn't have a plan.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's admitted that, but it definitely just.
Well, I mean, if you say you're shooting from the hip, though, that's the opposite of having a plan.
I mean, that was the connotation I took it as, but I don't know. It's just weird. I mean, the whole thing's just weird. So.
All right, we're going to get to some more weird stuff. We do want to thank Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. The nicest thing we can say about Tony, other than all the stuff we usually say about him, is that Michael and I both get our insurance through Tony, Hoaglund. We don't have to. He didn't beg us to, and he's not giving us discounts. We did it because he does a good job.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
All right, on Twitter, R.D. Jones asks, how many times a day does Fenton bang his head on his desk when thinking about Nino Rask trade?
I don't know. I mean, it's got to be hard. I mean, again, that one, like, I get trading Nino. He's making $5.25 million. He had 3 more years left after this one. He was basically edged out of the lineup again for the same reasons I just said. He had Parisi, Zucker, Greenway, Foligno. Nino. It's like Nino just didn't have a spot in the lineup. He was sort of the odd man out. Bruce didn't like him at right wing. Didn't feel like he could catch a pass, things like that. Make plays off that right wing. So I get trading him. But again, you hope you can get something. The thing is and I don't think I'm saying anything out of school here because I think Fenton has said this publicly, but they did not have a lot of options, if any options. I think he was trying to trade Nino from day one of the season, not even day one. He was trying to trade him as of the last June and couldn't find any takers. And then he found a taker, but there's a reason why he found a taker, because Victor Rask is somebody that Carolina planned to buy out this summer. So now the only issue to me with this trade, you would have been better off trading him for just a draft pick. But now they've created a bigger problem because now they got a guy making $4 million with 3 years left on his deal with 0 spot in the lineup. That's obvious. I mean, again, if you're thinking that your top centers are Stahl, Koivu, and Eriksson Ek, and Nico Sturm has a legitimate chance to make the team, where's Rask playing? Well, he's not playing his natural center position. And then if you're thinking that your third line, which was great last year and down the stretch, is going to be Greenway, Eriksson, Ek, Cunnin, and your top wingers are going to be Parisi and Fiala and Donato, and we're assuming Zucker, but he could potentially be moved. Or if it's not Zucker, one of those free agent wingers, well, Rask has to be at a minimum a fourth-line winger here. And they keep on talking like we're going to give Rask an opportunity next year to try to reestablish himself. Where? How is it humanly possible that Victor Rask is in the top 9 on this team? I don't see it. There's no feasible way. So if he's on the fourth line, there's no chance at all that he's going to be able to reestablish himself. He's not going to be able to produce from there. So he's a buyout waiting to happen in a year.
From Davis Bailey, what do you think Fenton sees as the advantage of keeping Bruce on without extending him? Seems unfair to Bruce.
Yeah, it does, especially because this is the year that he could probably get another job immediately. Like, I bet you Buffalo would hire him tomorrow. But right now it does not look like there's any indication that he's getting an extension. So, I don't see any benefits of it other than he's being kind of forced to by the owner, but he doesn't want to extend him because he wants his own guy still. So, I mean, if you extend him, then Paul knows that in a year when he goes to Craig again, well, I'd like to bring in my own guy. He's probably going to say again. So I think that Paul just doesn't want to extend him right now.
From Russo Slacks, it's time for an embarrassing new homeowner story. We know you have some.
I really don't.
Have you been home?
Yeah.
That's
been
weird.
home a good amount. I don't really have any
No
bad
blood,
ones yet.
No glass shards.
No, not since the one that happened on the air with you.
Now I feel special.
No, really, no embarrassing homeowner stories. I'm a great
just
homeowner.
Despite you slacks, from Wild Road Tripper, is little Joe Pavelski a realistic target for the Wild in free agency, or will free agency strictly be one of us, Anders Lee and or Brock Nelson from the Islanders?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, I don't know if he's saying that with like a twinge of like sarcasm, like, you know, that all they do is get one of us guys. But if you had a choice between Joe Pavelski at 35 or Anders Lee right now at 29, I think most people would say go for Lee. So, I mean, you know, if they go for Lee, I don't think that Paul Fenton's doing it because of the birth certificate at all.
Right.
And again, at center, I don't know why Brock, even if the Wild had interest in Brock Nelson, I don't know why he would sign here. Looking at the Wild's depth chart, you know, so, or that's not fair. He would probably say to himself, well, I'm better than those guys, and maybe do it, but it just makes no sense really anymore for the Wild to go after him after they signed Stahl. So, in terms of Pavelski, I just think it's a risk. I think that the Wild do have major interest in Pavelski. I don't know if he'd sign here. I will preface this by they got to make sure he's healthy. He's had now 2 major head injuries in the playoffs. So I don't know if that's going to, all of a sudden scare Paul away. But, you know, everything's going to come down, you know, as I've said all along, everything's going to come down to term and money. Pavelski's going to want more than $6 million a year, and he's going to probably want at a minimum a 3-year deal. And now all of a sudden, in 3 years, you have a 38-year-old Joe Pavelski with 38-year-old Zach Parise and Ryan Suter. It seems like a huge risk. He's not going to get better in that time. And the other thing is he scored 37 goals this year, and that was with an extremely talented top 9 on that San Jose Sharks team. Who's getting Joe Pavelski the puck? It seems like a risk.
From NA on Twitter, where does Sturm slot in under the current roster?
Well, I mean, same thing. I mean, if Mikko's ready, and we're assuming Mikko, and when I say Mikko, I'm not saying Nico, I'm saying Mikko Koivu, and he is well ahead of schedule. Everybody is saying, that means Stahl, Mikko, Eriksson Ek in either order there. So is Nico Sturm, if you're Paul Fenton, do you want him playing 4th-line center, or would you rather him playing top-line minutes down in Iowa? I would think that, but we'll see. I think it would be better for him to be in the minors, but he absolutely is an impressive guy.
From Corey,
to me, it would be smarter for them to develop him down in the minors this year, maybe call him up at some point when they need it. But, wait till, all of a sudden you say to Nico, hey, go down to Iowa, play huge minutes, light it up. And then in a year, when Mikko's gone, you're that guy.
From Corey Berthome, I hope I'm probably not pronouncing it right. I apologize. What could the Wild do to better develop players?
Well, I mean, I think that they're gonna start getting an influx of young talent down there, and I think Brad Bombardier does a great job, and I think that they've got a good coaching staff down in the minors. I don't know if Brett McLean and David Cunniff are going to return to work with Tim Army, if they're going to have to revamp that staff down there. I know McLean's somebody in the last year of his deal that probably might have a chance to go elsewhere and work, and maybe even be a head coach, so he might leave. But a lot of the reason why they haven't developed a lot of guys is that they've traded guys like Tuck, and they've traded a lot of draft picks. Well, all of a sudden, you're going to get Lodnia down there. You're going to get Duheim down there. You're going to get Durer down there. You might get Kovanov, although he probably will go back to Moncton and juniors there. So I just think, the development will come with just better and better players and younger players going to Iowa. I mean, this year's Iowa team is a very, veteran-laden team. You have the guys on AHL deals like Fitzgerald and Mayhew. You have the Rouse and the Matt Reeds and people like that. As far as prospects, there's almost nothing down there other than Belpedio, Benel, and Susi. So as long as as they continue to get more and more young players down there, I think that Wild fans will start to feel better about the prospect pool.
A couple more Twitter questions. We'll be back next week to answer more. We do appreciate them. From Craig B. Do you think, this is an interesting question, do you think either of the Wild teams from the years the Wild were losing to Chicago in the playoffs would be contending right now in this year's playoffs?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Absolutely. Those weren't bad teams. I mean, that team